So hi, Johanna. So yeah, we've moved into the summer, I would say. I mean, actually, until last week, I was putting the wood burner on in the morning to just take the chill off the air, but I haven't put it on for like over a week now. So that's it now till October. No wood burner. So I'm gonna be a little bit cheeky. So I'm gonna base the class very strongly on what we did last week. In fact, I'm gonna follow bits of the sequence, okay, from last week, but I'm going to change the end and we're going to do a little bit of a vinyasa krama around the headstand. And the headstand is strongly contraindicated. In other words, don't do it if you've got any kind of injury in the neck or you're not really feeling confident about moving into headstand. So I'm going to say that. So if that's the case, you could do shoulder stand, or you could do something even quieter like legs up the wall, okay? Using a wall space. But the headstand is a really interesting pose. It's a very powerful pose. Iyengar talks about the queen of poses being it's a sort of royal reference, but anyway, there's the queen of poses is the shoulder stand, and the king of poses is the headstand. And I think because it's such a powerful pose, it requires a lot of power in the body to do the pose effectively as well. So you need to have a strong base, which we'll look at later on. You make a triangle base, and we'll look at this later on, and then that forms as it were, the foundation for then just gently resting the top of the head on the floor and taking the legs up towards the sky. So the whole body's upside down, and it can help build a lot of strength into the shoulders and into the neck indirectly. But you really do want to be approaching it with caution because, I remember a student in Valencia, was being enthusiastic, did the pose up against the wall, and then for 2 months had, some discomfort in the neck. So I don't want you to do that if that's the case, okay? So we're going to start in child's pose, and we're just going to get into a little bit of a flow. I'm going to move as I did last week quite slowly. Let me know if there's any trouble with the sound or anything like that. So we'll come into child's pose and release to the floor, release the head, release the arms. Connecting with the breath. And I'd like to scan through your body from the hands, from the top of the head, down the arms, down through the torso, through the hips, the legs, to the feet. To have a quick look and take in how your body's feeling. So especially if you're feeling particularly disconnected from the body, maybe that's not the case, but if it is, be aware of approaching the body with kindness, with gentleness. We're going to move into quite a strong practice, as you saw last week. Some strong moves, some strong postures. So I'd like you to do that with gentleness, with kindness. So in your next inhale, you're going to move up into all fours. And then exhale, we're going to drop down to the floor. Try and squeeze the elbows in. Inhale into all fours. Exhale, tuck the toes under and push up into dog pose. Inhale into all fours. Exhale back to child's pose, but keep the arms long and active. So there's 4 positions. Inhale into all fours. Exhale, lowering yourself down, elbows tucked in. So we're engaging the arms and shoulders. Inhale, push back up. Try and keep the torso together. Exhale, tucking the toes under and push back into dog pose. Head in line with the upper arms and moving through these 4 positions back to all fours. Back to child's pose, arms long and active. So we're first dropping to the floor, bringing the chest, belly to the floor, face, maybe inhale into all fours. Then we're pushing up the dog pose. and then back to child's pose. So we'll just do a few rounds of this, following your own breath. See if you can really lengthen the fingers, squeezing the elbows in, keeping the arms engaged, pushing back up to dog pose, working at your own rhythm. Feel free to go a little bit slower if I'm going too fast. Find your own rhythm. Actually, there's one benefit of all of us practicing in our own houses, as though, okay, so I'm describing the session, but you can actually work at your own rhythm. So just make this the last round. So dropping to the belly, Towards-Headstand-Sirsasana. Inhale all fours, and then we're going to stay in Ardha Mukha Svanasana. So I'd like you to tuck your toes under and then lift the heels. Sometimes they call this the high heeled dog. Slightly bend the knees and lift your sitting bones, pushing from, or more like lengthening from the palms towards the sitting bones. And then you can drop the heels towards the floor. Usually we keep the heels slightly off the floor, lining up the head with the upper arms, a sense of gently squeezing the outer arms in. So it's activating the triceps. So I'm feeling it. When you're pushing from the floor through the sides of the body towards the sitting bones. We're tipping the pelvis forward, so anteverting the pelvis to lift the sitting bone, allowing the pose to soak in to the body. There's an active pose working against gravity. It's got something of an inversion to it. The head is lower than the heart, lower than the hips. Inhale, come into all fours. This time, swing back into child's pose, but release the arms back as well. Completely let go there. Let your breath stabilize. Come into rest, checking that you are breathing fully into the belly. Releasing the neck, shoulders, the arms. So we'll go around that same sequence back into dog pose. So inhale the arms forwards. Exhale, inhale into all fours. Exhale, lower yourself to the floor, elbows in. Inhale all fours. Exhale, tucking the toes under and keep the heels high and push up to the dog pose. Feet about hip width, hands about shoulder width. So a classic setup for the dog pose. And then we'll take the heels down, opening the backs of the legs, opening the sides of the body, pushing through from the hands, through the shoulders, through to the sitting bones, the pelvis, dipping forward so you can really access that stretch in the back of the legs, connecting with the breath. Okay, and then inhale, come to all fours. This time we're going to drop to the belly. Once again, elbows in. Move your hands a little bit back. We'll do a variation on what we did last week. So separating your feet and ground the tops of the feet. And as you inhale, I'd like you to lift and look back towards your right foot. And then as you exhale, release down and then look to the left foot. So we're coming into a very gentle Bhujangasana. Inhale. Looking back, we're going to activate the spinal muscles, the muscles up and down the spine, and we'll alternate between two sides. Inhale, looking. Try not to strain. So it's quite easy to try and strain to look at the foot. So if you can't see the foot, it really doesn't matter. You just turn as much as you can. Slide the shoulders away from the ears. And we're not lifting too high here, okay? Quite conscious movements, elbows in. In fact, I mean, conscious movement is really important in the yoga practice. So you're grounding tops of the feet, grounding the pelvis. One more time on each side. Elbows tucking back and in, and then release. Inhale. All fours this time again, sweep the arms back. If you like, thread the arms through the legs. This can be quite restful. It helps to, feels like it releases the triceps, the upper arms, releasing the head down, softening the neck and shoulders. So this sequence, I've set it up in a way that really works the upper back and shoulders, but in terms of strengthening as well as opening, but emphasizing more strengthening in different sections. Okay, so inhale, take your hands forwards, come to all fours. So we did this is like a kind of, I don't know how to describe this, it's like a three-legged dog. Okay, so you're going to move up into dog pose. Maybe take your feet a little bit wider. And the idea is to, yeah, engage the legs. We're going to reach left hand to the outer right foot, sorry, right leg. Okay, so I'm reaching across the body, but I'm pushing strongly through the right arm. So it's going to really load your right arm, shoulder. Try and keep the arm straight, so the elbow in, so activate towards the medial line. I'm keeping the head gently lifted. It's pretty full on. So I'm loading my right arm first, which tends to be a little bit stronger. Okay, when you're ready, inhale or fours and take a pause. Inhale or fours. Exhale, dog pose, maybe taking your feet a bit wider. And then we're going to take the right hand to the outer left foot, left calf. Just check that you're centering. Obviously, it throws your weight off balances. It's quite interesting in terms of asymmetric loading of the body. So your body's having to compensate, which is not a bad thing. So it helps to strengthen one side of the body more than the other. In this position, looking to engage the legs, head in line with that extended left arm. Breathing there. And then inhale, both hands down or fours. Exhale, release to child's pose, whatever child's pose you fancy. Release the head, release the arms. And then from there, we're going to add in Urdhva, upwards, Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. So bringing your hands forwards and active. Inhale into all fours. Let's go through the whole sequence. So exhale, drop to the floor, elbows in. Inhale, all fours. Exhale, dog pose. So this movement, this next move needs to be very conscious and very careful because we are going to bring the lower back into compression. Okay, so we're opening the anterior face of the spine. So as you inhale, you stay toes tucked under. We're going to slowly lower the pelvis down and look up as you come into a back bend. And then exhale, swing back up. So we'll do it 3 times. And on the third time, we'll hold. So you might want to change the distance, bring your feet closer to the hands or separate the hands. Looking up, legs active. The knees do not drop to the floor. Okay, so the third time, inhaling into position. You can gaze up, legs active, feeling that compression in the lower spine. Does it feel okay? Does it not feel okay? If it doesn't feel okay, then drop to the floor. come into a low cobra, Bhujangasana. Arms active, the elbows facing forwards. And then exhale, push up, swing back up and inhale. Or fours, exhale, drop into child's pose, maybe take the arms through the legs. Breathing there. Let's just try that move again. Okay, so extend your arms forwards. So I want you to be really aware of what's going on in your lower back as you do that. Come into all fours, lower yourself to the floor. So the other option is this, lifting into a low Bhujangasana. So this would be the other option. Okay, so do take that. This is much safer for your lower back, much less compression. But if you can, lower yourself to the floor, into all fours, dog pose. Decide the distance between the feet and hands. And 3 times on the inhale, we're going to swing forwards, lowering. So we're not flopping down. It's definitely lowering, looking up. And back. On your own rhythm, coming in and out of Urdhva Mukha Svanasana. So a downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana to Urdhva, upward. And the 3rd time, lift and hold. Breathe there. If you've got more experience, you could come onto the tops of the feet. If you want to try that, so you placing the tops of the feet on the floor, really pushing through the arms, elbows straight, gaze up, legs active, and then from there, exhale, swing back up and release to all fours, and release into child's pose. Take your pick of child's pose. Connect with the breath. And from there, I'm going to come into just one of the 2 quarter dogs. So come into all fours. So we're going to come into a resting pose. So I want you to thread your right arm underneath you and extend your left arm above the head along the floor with the arm slightly active. And you're allowing yourself to sink into this version of quarter dog. We're emphasizing lengthening now through the upper back, opening the shoulders. Checking that the pelvis is pretty much level, tipping forwards on the pelvis behind the line of the knees. Standing through that top arm. So I quite actually, I learned this pose off Sadhita. So it's not quite a full yin pose because in my case, the left arm, I guess you could do it more yin. You could rest the left elbow on the floor, but it works really well where the left arm is extending slightly actively from the left waist, left shoulder through. So the elbow is actually off the floor, but then the other arm is passive. So the right arm is passive. So I find it feels really beneficial for that top shoulder, the left shoulder. Even though it's not a fully passive pose as in a yin style practice. So we have got the other quarter dog version, which is more yin. Okay, let's switch sides. So inhale, come to all fours. Maybe take cat-cow a couple of times. I find that really helps with these upper back, shoulder stretches. So cat-cow. Okay, and then I quite like to separate the knees at least as wide as the hips. And my right arm extends forwards and the left arm goes underneath. And I bring weight into the left shoulder. and the left arm is passive. My right arm is extending, but not like powerfully active. It's just active. So I'm holding and lengthening through the right arm, letting the belly soften. Feeling it's got a little bit of a twist through the upper back, but it's working the muscle and structures around the outer shoulder blade. So I'm extending lightly through the right arm, feeling that action through the right shoulder joint. So the shoulders really are amazing joints. Yeah, if you think about it, you can pick up objects. I mean, I wouldn't do it like all the time, but you can pick up objects half your body weight. So if you're 60 kilos, you can pick up 30 kilos, probably not too difficult to do. And if you look at the shoulder joint, it's a really open structure. So the end of the humerus, the shoulder bone, sits on a very open plate, similar to the hip, but much more open. So that allows for the mobility. And the shoulder is held on through a mixture of muscles and tendons. It's amazing in a way when you do pick up such a heavy object that your arms don't just fall off. Okay. Okay, inhale, come to all fours and take cat-cow. Exhaling, drawing the belly in. Inhaling, releasing. Belly forward, chest forwards, pelvis forwards, exhale. Okay, back into neutral. So from here, we're actually going to come up to standing. So I've been doing these horse stances. I really like them. So I'm going to suggest you come up. We're just going to take 2 horse stances. So I want you to take your feet wide. With the horse stance, you bend your knees and you turn your feet. You can turn your feet out as much as you like. In fact, you can play with the turning of the foot. I go for a comfortable turn out and drop the pelvis towards the floor. Okay, so we're going to hold this for a little while. So I'd like you to take your gaze towards the horizon or level, and with the hands on the hips to begin with, release the shoulders. They're letting your weight sink down as much into the heels as the big toe ball, little toe ball. So these poses are really good for strengthening the legs, the lower back, but also for creating space in the groins and the pelvis. And what I like about them is it feels like it feels like I'm connecting with my like internal energy, okay, whatever that means. But it feels like internally very powerful. It's a very static practice. So I did quite a lot of this years ago in Qigong. But it helps to generate heat in the body. Actually, weirdly generates a lot of strength. Okay, so we're going to do something with the arms. So I like you to float the arms into like as though you're holding a ball in front of you. So one of the ways they work in Qigong is to imagine spheres, like inflated balloons. So just imagine you're embracing a balloon here. So the index fingers are about level with the top of the shoulder, and the fingers are pointing towards each other, about a palm width apart. You let your elbows drop to really try and soften the shoulders and the outer arms, so triceps, deltoids, and the thumbs are floating towards the vertical, and you're sinking into that. And yeah, you'll find you can build this up from like a minute or 2 to 5 or longer, to 10, 15, 20 minutes even. And it's quite meditative. It's very powerful. Feels very grounding. It's very much the image that came up on when I was doing this on one retreat is a sort of image of filling my space, taking up the space that I need, my kind of personal space, almost like a protective sphere around that. Breathing. Let your hips, also the sense of the sitting bones are resting on another balloon or sphere. And you could even imagine underneath the arms, underneath the elbows, underneath the armpit area, little balloons supporting your arm weights. It's almost like resting into that. So if it's healthy, close the eyes for a moment. Try and keep the wrists soft. You can even imagine a little balloon under each wrist. So you've got the big balloon in front of you and behind you, but then you've got little balloons underneath the wrists, the elbows, and the armpit area. Okay, exhale, releasing, and let's just come to Tadasana for a moment. Come into a more neutral stance. Take a pause there. Close the eyes. Lengthening through the spine. We're going to do one more version of this. So take the hands to the hips and take your feet wide again. You will feel it in the thighs. Your thighs will become like pillars of steel if you do this regularly. And so with this second position, so I'd like us to first bring the arms up to where they just were. Just get a sense of sinking into the space between the legs. So the knees are slightly bent, the feet turned out. Got your balance there. And then we're going to swing the arms down as though about hip height. And there's a balloon. So the image that they use in Qigong is your hands are resting on the surface of the water. So you imagine you're standing in water, which is flowing around and between the legs. And then just on the surface of the water, there's two more spheres floating, and your hands are floating on those. And just feel. See if you can soften the shoulders. Gets a bit intense. I remember on one retreat in Danakosha, one guy just walked out right at the beginning. So I did these straight off at the beginning. It's a bit intense. It's somehow different to yoga because we're holding the pose for quite a long time. And we're aiming to be in quite powerful poses, but relaxed. See if you can soften the wrists, the elbows, the shoulders. And feel the burn in the thighs. Play with your foot position. So I like to turn the feet out quite a bit with this, so the feet are definitely not parallel. Breathing there. Okay, that's probably enough for now, isn't it? Exhale, release your hands round to the hips and back up to Tadasana. Take a pause in Tadasana neutral. Just checking through the body, close your eyes. Soften around the shoulders, the neck. So curiously, for the inverted poses like headstand, shoulder stand, handstand, forearm balance, you do really need to develop the rest of the body, the legs particularly, because the legs want to lift the legs when you do the inversion. So the power of the legs wants to lift the legs. Okay, so we're going to come down to kneeling. It'd be helpful to have a strap. So I just want to do a little bit of strap work. Hopefully you've got something at hand or a towel or like a scarf. Okay, we'll come into kneeling and bring your palms together into Namaste. We did this little sequence last week. Interlace the fingers right down to the roots of their fingers. Push away. This is a really simple and useful pose, which appears in all the early Hatha yoga texts. which having just studied, I just did a course on Vajrayana Buddhism and Hatha Yoga, and it seems that Hatha Yoga went up to the Himalayas to the Tibetans and then became transformed and then went back down into India. And this kind of posture work is you find in that early Hatha Yoga, sort of Tibetan Hatha Yoga practices. So the elbows squeezing in, squeeze up into Pavasana and extending up. So these practices from the early Hatha Yoga tradition, as it was coming down from Tibet, were associated very much with stimulating the energy channels, nadis, as they're called, the chakras. So elbows squeezing in, just checking your weight is sinking evenly through the front of the feet. There's a benefit also on the ankles and the tops of the feet. Exhale, releasing wide. I want you to bring the palms back to Namaste and interlace the fingers in the other way. So with the other index finger on top, pushing forwards, pushing up, lengthening through the body. The sense of reaching up. So this, although it's quite a quiet pose, it is active. Connecting with the breath. Weight sinking into the tops of the feet. And exhale, take your arms wide. Then I'd like you to take your strap. Let's just touch in with this strap work. So with the strap between the index and the thumb, float up the arms and then take the arms sufficiently wide, the hand sufficiently wide to go back round behind you without bending the elbows. Come back round again. Do it 3 times, bringing the hands closer together. So I spent quite a lot of time on this last week, so I'm just gonna touch through it this time. So it's useful to open up the shoulders and the upper back if you're gonna come into either shoulder stand or headstand. So 3rd time, hands come closer, you go up, you're gonna need to separate the hands and go through, try not to push the head forwards. And then I'll just show you this the other way round, sideways. So take your left arm up and the right hand back. You might need to bring the hands closer together to get a satisfactory stretch. So it's a crossways stretch. So I'm taking my left hand up and my right hand back towards the medial line. Release the shoulders, release the neck. Allow your neck just to float up towards the crown. And I'm gently pulling taut the strap. Gently and quite firmly, actually. Okay, exhale, releasing round and swing to the other side. So my right arm is going up, left hand coming into the medial line. And let's switch back again. Maybe bring the hands a bit closer together if that's easy. So my right hand behind me, left arm up. Checking that you're not swaying too forwards into the lower back. So keeping the chest tucked back and in. Okay, swing round again. Right arm going up, left arm coming in. Releasing the neck. And release. Okay, so let's just come back into some strength work. So we're going to do actually that's not going to work. I need to show you this way. So we're going to make a triangle. So let me just show you. Let me just change the camera. Okay, so what I'd like to do is to make a triangle with the forearms and elbows, and I'm going to cross the thumbs. You see, cross the thumbs, touch the index. We've done this before. And we're going to place the triangle down. So this is like the dolphin. Let me just switch back again. So you're going to place the triangle down, and the head really doesn't touch the floor here. So you want to have be comfortable in the wrists, push through the forearms and lift up into forearm, sort of forearm dog, if you like. Activate the legs and or tuck the toes. Sorry, tuck the toes under, bend the knees and lift the sitting bones. Okay, let's just come back down. It gets a bit intense. So quite like to what I'd like us to do is come down and up. Okay, from like a plank to the forearm dog, if you like. So it's sometimes called dolphin, this move. So you exhale, lift the hips up, and as you inhale, you might want to lengthen the base of the pose out. You come into our plank like this, and then you exhale. Maybe you want to walk the feet forwards a bit, lift up, and we'll do this 2 or 3 times. So you inhale, maybe down, exhale, so the knees don't drop to the floor. You could, there's a bit intense, you could come to the knees, then you could lower yourself down. It'll still be intense. You could do that. But if you can, try and keep the knees off the floor. And the head is definitely not touching the floor. So I'll just let you try that a few times. Head is not touching the floor. We're coming towards plank. So it's like resembling a joyful dolphin jumping through the waves, even though it might not feel like it. Okay, and then come down. Come down, all to all fours. Wow. Hand release there. Swinging back up to sitting on the feet. So let's just come back into one more shoulder opener. Okay, so I'd like you to place your belt over your left shoulder. Extend your right arm, your right hand round the back, left arm coming up. And then let's just see if we can hook the fingers. If we can't hook the fingers, we did this last week. You could take hold of the strap. So if you can hook the fingers, great. If not, then take hold of the strap. But either way, you're pulling your elbows away from each other. And this will oblige the thoracic spine to move deeper into the body and move forwards. Closing the eyes for a while. Let's sustain this. Again, another pose that comes from these early yoga texts. I find that kind of interesting. So I did this course. I mean, it was really academic. It was too academic for my liking. But it was a translation of a text called the Amrita Siddhi, which is a Tibetan meditation yoga text. And the latter part of this text, so it's from about the 10th century, it's about 1,000 years old in Tibetan. So it was preserved in Tibetan, probably came from Sanskrit, India, went up into Tibet. But the latter part of this text is basically a yoga treatise. It's full of yoga postures. Quite bizarre. You know, it could be a modern yoga manual that you could get in any bookshop. But the emphasis is on all this inner chakra nadi work, which is highly esoteric and needs kind of need a guru to go there. So how relevant it is, I don't know. Okay, releasing and take a pause there. We're going to switch the belt to the other shoulder if you were going to use the belt. Taking your left hand around the back. Right hand goes up, reach up, and if you can, hooking the fingers. I do think, however, saying that, you know, as spiritual practitioners to the extent that we are, and as you know, I quite like this image of the a psychonaut. So we're exploring our psyches, and we can, through our own practice of yoga and meditation, explore what is that inner world, what is the inner world of channels and energy and chakras, and just explore with a curiosity, with mindfulness, see where we go. Noticing any difference between this side and the other side. I'm noticing, yeah, my right shoulder is tighter, stronger but tighter. Okay. Breathe in and release. Okay, so I just want to move into now a little sequence to come up onto the top of the head. So just check the time. Okay, we're fine. Okay, so I'm gonna talk about this and show you, and then you can have a go, and we'll do it together. So the first steps. I remember doing this like years and years ago, maybe yeah, like 20 years ago in Ibiza when I was working with Godfrey, and he was really into Vinyasa Krama, which is building things up step by step. He had an argument that it's not good to do headstand with a wall because if you can't come up onto the top of head in a more basic position, which I'm now going to show you, the danger is you come up onto a full headstand and just load your neck too strongly. Whereas if you come up into this halfway position, you can learn to do the posture without the risk of leaping up into a full headstand. So hopefully that makes sense to you. Okay, so what we do is we interlace, maybe I'll show with the other camera. This is really important is the hand position. So you interlace your fingers, you really root to the roots of the fingers as we did in Pavasana. And you bring the base of, let's see, the base of the thumb together. And then the outer ulnar point, this is the ulnar point, the outer wrist and the outer hand rest on the floor along with the elbows. So you've got a really firm, clear line of contact with the floor from the elbow to, as it were, the knuckle, outer knuckle of your little finger. You tuck one little finger underneath like that. So you make a triangle. So that forms the base. And then you push through that base to create, you activate your shoulders and arms and forearms to create support to place the head down. So let's just show what I mean. Okay, so I'm going to bring the elbows in line with the shoulders. I'm going to bring the top of the head to the floor. The outer hand is supporting the top, the sides of the head. And I walk in, and I'm just going to bring weight into the forearms, into the head, and come to here. So this is the halfway position. So you can play with one foot on the floor, play with just being here, the other foot on the floor. So you don't need to come right off the floor. And then you can push through the forearms and lift your legs. So you come here. So that's the first two steps, you could say. So first of all, one leg, then the other leg. Okay, so let's just try that for a moment. I quite like to see what happens here. So I'm just going to watch you guys. Okay. So just really be aware of grounding the forearms, strong in the upper arms and shoulders. Press that line from the elbow to the outer knuckle on the little finger. Really press it into the floor. Elbows in line with the shoulders, and just see if you can come up onto the top of the head. Okay, so I'll let you try that a couple of times and see how you get on, and then come back down and rest. Okay, so it's quite important to rest between sessions. So the crown of the head on the floor, my outer wrists are down, the inner wrists are moving towards the side of the head. Then I explore bringing my weight into the forearms and the crown of the head. So there's a sort of distribution of weight over that whole area. most of the weight is going into the forearms. You need to keep your arms active. Yeah, let's come down for a moment, take a pause, and I'll just show you the next step. Let's take a pause, rest your head down, just checking in on the neck. So in a way, the neck is not really designed to support so much weight. So it's a practice you'd want to build up very slowly. Obviously the neck is a very powerful structure because it's protecting your head. Habitually, it's supporting just the weight of the head, not the weight of the body. So I'd say you want to be building this up very slowly, very slowly. Okay, so the next step, again, really be clear about grounding the outer forearms, outer wrists, the outer little finger knuckle. I'm just definitely gently gripping the side of the head. I float up the legs, and then I can explore taking the legs up. So I quite like to keep the feet together, and I'm bringing the feet over the hips, over the shoulders, over the hands, and just see. Again, and you're definitely squeezing the inner legs together, pressing the feet up towards the sky, and really look at alignment. So you want to bring yourself into alignment. So it feels like the weight's dropping evenly down through the body. So do feel free to try that. I wouldn't suggest using the wall. So if you don't feel like you can get your balance already, then just try with that preparatory moves. When you come down, you want to stay low. Let your head be resting on the floor for a while. Just while you get used to that. You see what's happening here. Yeah. Obviously, the other thing to look out for is make sure there's nothing around you that you could crash into. Okay. Lots of effort in the arms, arms active. Okay, let's come down. Okay, so I think there's a kind of bonus pose after all that. What we should do, if you've got a cushion or a bolster at hand, get hold of that. And we're going to bring it to about palm width from the wall. Okay, so I'm just resting the bolster about 10 or 15 centimeters away from the wall. And I'm going to sit on the bolster and I'm going to swing round and come into Viparita Karani. So we were talking about this pose on Monday in the teachers class. So it makes a really good alternative to Shavasana. So I'd like you to make sure the top of the pelvis is supported on the bolster and the tailbone is sticking out off the bolster close to the wall, and the lower back is coming on the other side of the bolster towards you, obviously towards your upper body. And you come in as close to the wall as you can. If you can bring the backs of the legs to the wall, that's great. And you choose a hand position. You might want to rest the hands onto the chest or to the side of the body or even above the head. Can be quite restful, but I'd like you to come into a completely gravity neutral. So we're not working against gravity. In fact, we're just giving ourselves to gravity for the next few minutes. Okay. Again, scanning through from the hands, up the arms to the shoulders, from the crown of the head down the neck. So just do check in with how that felt on the neck and upper back, down the upper back, through the upper body through the belly to the hips, pelvis. If you can release the legs, even though we've got the legs at the wall, we're trying to lean the legs into the wall and let go. Just taking your awareness back into the horse stance, that powerful thigh stimulation. Going to build strength into your thighs, really important muscles in the body in terms of your locomotion, your movement, and your stability. Also, just on the level of like burning, as it were, calories and creating heat in the body. Taking awareness into your feet. So yeah, interesting enough, this is in the yoga tantra tradition I was mentioning earlier, that hatha yoga tantra tradition. They talk about viparita karani, and it's done in a really weird way, which it's like no way evident what they were doing, where they hang themselves from the ankles from a tree in the upside down position. So that does feel quite, I mean, I have tried that, believe it or not, hung upside down. I had the opportunity once. It was like a contraption, and it does help you to decompress the spine for about 2 or 3 minutes, but doing it for any length of time doesn't make a lot of sense, as you can tell. But this, we call this more habitually Viparita Karani. So Viparita is upside down, Karani is restful place. And you're getting the benefits of being upside down. The head and the heart are lower than the belly and pelvis. So you get this passive venal flow, gravity fed. Get the lymph system passively gravity fed back to blood supply. And you get that relief into the lower body joints, hips, knees, ankles, which you get in the headstand as well as shoulder stand, which are more powerful poses for the upper body. So with the headstand, it's a pose that you probably want to be bringing in. If you are going to take it up as a practice, you'd want to bring it in regularly. It's like with anything else, you bring in for a half a minute or a minute, and your body will get accustomed and stronger to do headstand. It will become safer as long as you approach it in a sort of disciplined, judicious way. A lot of care and attention to what's going on in the neck, particularly. Checking in with your breath, checking in with your mood. And then I'd like you to release your feet. Gosh, feet are really earthy, so I'm not going to put them on the wall. And ideally, rest your feet into the wall, but you just let your legs move towards your body. And then from there, you roll to one side. Be aware if you're on the support. I've got this wonderfully white wall, which I've just managed to mark it a little bit. Okay, so we're going to set up now into Shavasana just for the last 3 or 4 minutes. Okay, so I'm going to change the camera around again. Okay, so with Shavasana, do set it up in a way that's going to be comfortable. You're going to be warm enough. Maybe a little bit of support for the heads. And Rest down. So as you rest down into straight line, releasing the arms away from the body, the legs. And I'm just going to not say anything actually. I've been talking a lot. I talked a lot through that session. So I'm gonna just invite you to come into Shavasana for like 4 or 5 minutes. Really try to surrender your body weight to the floor. So Shavasana is the corpse pose, so we're resembling like a complete dead weight, we say in English. But stay connected with the sensations, with the breath, with your mood. Staying connected with your breath, the sensations, with your mood. And in your own awareness, expand out in your own time as well. So do feel free to stay on in Shavasana, allowing your awareness to expand out into the space around you. And yeah, I'd just like to thank you for your support with these classes. They do mean a lot to me. And taking your awareness into maybe the next activity and see if we can bring some energy, kindness, vitality into whatever you're going to do next. Okay, thank you. And see you. I do believe we've got one class left in April, so we will do another inversion practice, do another mix next week. Okay. See you soon.